So, good evening, friends. Welcome from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. My name is Biju Verki. I'm faculty member at IIM Ahmedabad and also chair of the EPGP program. Welcome to the this edition of webinar, which we are organizing on behalf of the EPGP program. The EPGP program is one of the newest additions to the long duration program family of IIM Ahmedabad. And we are currently in the first batch of EPGP where we have a group of highly motivated 50 plus participants from across the country. All of them have got very rich work experience and then currently holding from middle to senior management and even directorial positions in firms across sectors. They do continue with their jobs and at the same time pursue a long duration diploma granting program from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. They go through the rigors of and the quality standards and the instructional demands of IIM Ahmedabad. We are currently open for the second batch admissions. So in the process, we are communicating to a lot of your community, a wider set of audience about the program, as well as also, the research and the activities which our faculty members are currently doing. So I have pleasure in actually introducing my colleague, Professor Sunil Maheshwari, who is professor in the human resource management area. We are colleagues, area colleagues that way, and also he's also a he's also, a secondary member of the strategy area, works in interesting areas of human resource management, strategy, and some of his electives in organizational turnaround are the most subscribed electives at IIM Ahmedabad. So we have requested him to talk about one of his pet subjects. In fact, his executive education program on managerial effectiveness again is one of our blockbuster managerial, executive education programs, which invites participations from very, very senior people from this part of the subcontinent itself. So I have Professor Sunil Maheshwari. Thank you, Professor Sunil, for being with us and talking to a group of 200 plus people have shown interest to register, and slowly I can see the numbers clicking in. So Professor Sunil Maheshwari will be with you for the next 40 to 45 minutes on discussing the topic. Feel free to engage with Professor Sunil Maheshwari in a dialogue, because that's where personally I will say that he will comes first. He comes his best. Post that, I would take some time to talk about the EPG program, and as well as answer any questions about the program. I have also my entire team from EPGP also with me, so we look forward for the next 60 to 75 minutes of very, very good and meaningful interaction with all of you. Thank you. So over to Professor Sunil.
Thank you, Biju. Thank you so much for introducing me, and I'm very happy to interact with the people who have registered for webinar today, and that too on a topic of managerial effectiveness. And I believe this topic is not new for the people. This, in some sense, everyone understands what it means. And I'm going to talk about in next half an hour or 15 minutes or so, what is the criticality of continuous learning to be managerially effective. And then I'll open the floor for question answer, and people, I would request people to feel free to ask the questions, whatever comes to their mind. One is, let me start with, and on a very important concept, to be Yeah, one is the see the issue is, if you want to be managerially, if you want to achieve managerial effectiveness, then what is the concept? What is the concept of effectiveness? Now, to my mind, the concept of effectiveness is very simple. Concept of effectiveness is doing and achieving what you are supposed to be doing and what you are supposed to be achieving. Do what you are supposed to be doing and achieve what you are supposed to achieve. If you can do it, if you ensure these two things, you have achieved managerial effectiveness. That's what managerial effectiveness in simple term actually means. But having said that, is too simplistic, because do people know what are they supposed to be doing, and how do they discover what they should be doing? And do people know what they are supposed to achieve, and how should they know how what they are supposed to achieve? And that is where I bring a very important concept of this concept of role. Uh, all of you would have come across this concept of job description. You know, when you join companies, you are given your job description that by this is what company expects you to do. But let me tell you, I have been asking this question. Large number of people who come attend various program conferences, even in my different studies, I ask people, "Are you aware of your job description?" And invariably, majority of the people, and a very high majority of the people would say, "Sorry, sir, we don't remember what my job description are." Now, that's not very surprising. People don't remember the job description because this becomes obsolete very fast. The people get their job description, and 6 months down the line, they will be doing something significantly different from what was given to them by HR department as documented job description. Now, why does it really happen? And I'm sure most of you know about it. This happens because the people around you expect you to do something very different, and those expectations keep changing very fast. And that's where the concept of role and position. When you join a company on a position of a manager, people tell you that in a position of a manager or a marketing manager or production manager or HR manager, one, two, three, four, five, these things you're supposed to be doing. But the moment you occupy that particular chair, suddenly people around you start expecting you to do a whole lot of things which are not documented, and you are supposed to be responding to those expectations. And that's where there comes the concept of role. And to execute that role, you need to be very sensitive what the world is expecting from you. Now, the world means your bosses, your colleagues, your subordinate, your consumers, your customers, and so on and so forth. Now, and that is where the concept of dynamism. The moment you realize it's not the given description which the HR department once in a while gives to you, or KRA is defined in the beginning of the year, the moment you realize that it is the expectations assigned to you by a whole lot of people around you, suddenly you realize the world is very dynamic. Your boss changes, suddenly your role changes, expectations change. Technology changes, suddenly you are expected to do something very different. Suddenly you get new colleagues in your department, and you are expected to do something absolutely new. And that's where the whole world becomes very dynamic. And the moment you realize that the dynamism in the role, and you are supposed to be meeting that obligation, you are obliged to meet those expectations, then you need to continuously look at your competencies. Because if expectations are dynamic, then competencies have to move upward or change to meet those expectations. For example, if your boss comes and he says that, look, we are now going to take help of artificial intelligence in our administrative setup. And please look into it, what changes are needed, what way we can make use of artificial intelligence. Now, one may argue that I have no knowledge about artificial intelligence, but this is what your boss is expecting you to do. Now, can you say, no, sorry, I'll not do it? That is going to hurt you. That is the time you say that, okay, I'll go and learn about artificial intelligence. And that's how the moment in your role set, as the members keep changing, you encounter new expectations, and those new expectations require new learning. And that's where learning cannot be a one-time process. The moment you realize you are on a role and role is dynamic, then you will realize the competencies that you are required to have to perform effectively is also very, very dynamic. Now, having said that, this is only part of the story. Let me take you to the next slide of my presentation. The moment you realize that there is a role which you have to perform, then the question comes that it's not just the just not the executing the activity. Those activities again have to produce the result which is expected. Now, when the boss says that, look, I want to use artificial intelligence in my administrative setup now and find out. Now, this is one way of looking at, these are the new activities I need to undertake. But then boss is also expecting an outcome. Outcome is that my administrative efficiency should increase at least by 50% in the whole process. That's this expectation of the result. Now, merely taking the activity is not enough. You have to make sure that the activity is given output which is also expected from you. And that's where effectiveness is not only doing what is expected to be done, others expect you to do, but also you have to give an output which others expect you to be bringing about on the table. And that's where the question comes that what are the factors responsible for outcome or output of your efforts? One is, of course, the skill of the manager, your own skill, your own capabilities. Also, the efforts and abilities of people around you, the team with which you work. The factors which are organizational, and I'll talk about organizational factors. And finally, the whole lot of context, the environment, and which keeps changing as we know very, very fast. So these are the various factors which affect the outcome. But then the question remains that while so many factors influence the outcome, finally you are made responsible to bring the outcome, and that's where you got to worry about all these factors at your in your role. That okay, if outcome is going to be affected by the team members, then what role do I have to perform so that team members start supporting me? Because tomorrow you're going to ask, what is the outcome? You talked about artificial intelligence, you did this, that, but where is the improved efficiency? And that's where you got to worry about team, you got to worry about organizational factors, you got to worry about the larger context. Now, let me take you further. When I say individual skill, now these individual skill are of various type. On a broad basis, what we say, decision making in multiple contexts, decision making in the context of understanding money, decision making in the context of managing people, decision making in the context of managing customers, decision making in the context of launching new products. Now whole lot of decision making spectrum. Now this is one ability, and as your role changes, suddenly you realize that you are supposed to be making decisions in the domain you have never done in the past, and you got to develop your capability of decision making into newer domains. Analytical ability. How do you look at the context? How do you look at the situation? How do you relate variables? How do you draw inferences? Do you draw conclusions? And that's where you come out with very, very well informed decision. Capability of working teams, and it's not a very simple capability. Let me tell you, each team is so different. So far you might have worked with one set of people who were more mainly the people coming from accounts department. They had one culture, one pattern of working. Suddenly you are working with people who are with technology field, or what we call Gen X, Gen Y, and now we are calling millennial people. Suddenly you are working with those kind of people. Suddenly you find that team work or the team environment is very, very different. Now, are you able to manage those different contexts as a member of the team? And if you are not then your output is going to get affected. Now, this is where the dynamism come again. Continuous learning. Once learned how to work in team may not be enough, because each team and their requirements and their demands are so different. Then you have the interpersonal skills, the leadership skills. Interpersonal, again, in different context, we know how to deal with people in different situations. And as you move up in your organizational ladder, as you move in different roles in the organization, suddenly you will realize you're not dealing with the same set of people. Their ideologies, their perceptions, their values, their philosophies, all are so different. And if their ideologies are different, their perceptions are different, suddenly you realize that you need a very different abilities to deal and interact with those kind of people. Negotiation ability is one of the critical ones. And of course, our own perception, our own values and beliefs, it requires a constant updating, constant introspection, and constant review. Unless we are able to do that, you will realize that effectiveness in the role gets adversely affected. Now, this is where to be an effective manager, on all these parameters, you need to have continuous development, continuous effort, so that you are able to respond effectively to the challenges that you're facing in your organizations. Interestingly, if you look at most of the management programs, especially from IIM Ahmedabad, for example, EPGP, under the aegis of that, this webinar is being organized. If you look at these programs, a very significant part of the program, or very significant focus of the program, is on on these parts. For example, decision making. How do we make choices in the context of dealing with consumers? How do we make choices in the context of managing people? And the whole emphasis is on decision making, because as a manager, that's one of the very, very prime role. Or analytics. How do you look at variables, the context, relate variable, draw conclusions, and so on? A lot of soft skills, like the working in team and different kind of teams. All teams are not same. Interpersonal skills. So these programs, in fact, the long duration program, one of the prime focus is primarily this: how do we make the participants more effective managers? And that's where, how do we enhance their managerial effectiveness by enhancing all these skills in various contexts. Now, on the team side, there are varieties of issues, as I just talked about, the process, the dynamism. Team, again, communication side, between team and within team. As a manager, you are not only responsible for communication within team. How about between team? How do you do that? On the leadership side, there are some very serious issues. In fact, some of my studies, which I have undertaken very recently, I find that in the country, the leadership requires a tremendous boost, because in some sense, we have a kind of leadership crisis. The situation is not very, very healthy. I'm talking about on an average. There are wonderful leaders. Don't take me wrong. There are wonderful leaders, but on an average, I think in the corporate world has to improve the leadership capabilities significantly. Now, when we say leadership, the ability to articulate vision, communicate vision, taking the vision to the reality, strategic orientation. Can we look at the issues from a strategic perspective? Decision making, developing and empowering subordinates, customer focus, creativity, performance orientation, initiative, receptivity. These are various dimensions on the leadership. And my recent study shows that a lot is desired. And I think a program, most of the business management programs do focus a lot on that, but I think a lot is needed. So to be effective or enhance managerial effectiveness, this leadership issue is a very important issue. unless the managers are exposed to the appropriate leadership, the outcome gets affected. Now that is, and every one of us is a leader as well as a follower. So while our output may get affected because certain kind of leadership we are exposed to, but at the same time, don't forget we are also leaders for others, and the kind of leadership we provide starts affecting the whole team who is reporting to us, and that's where the leadership issue. And finally, let me quickly share with you the organizational factor. As I said, outcome is affected by my own competencies, the team competencies, the leadership competencies, and finally the organizational factor. Now, organizational factor includes things like, the strategy at the corporate level. Do I have strategies which matches the opportunities and my own capability? Am I entering into domains which are not my domain? I don't have capabilities, or am I denying opportunities despite having capabilities? I think these are very, very serious questions. Uh, at the business level, am I able to create differentiators? Structurally, am I having the right kind of power, the resources, the decision making powers, and so on? Now, have I created that kind of a structure? Governance and control, I tell you, this is becoming a major theme in the country today. We are talking about, in the absence of appropriate governance and controls, even the best capable person may not be very, very effective. Now, as an organization, do we have appropriate governance and control? Very hot theme today, not only in India but globally. We are worried about it, and people are talking about it. Talent management system. What kind of culture we have created in the organization? Are we very open or very opaque? Uh, are we willing to confront the challenges, or we try to push them under the carpet? Uh, are people trusted here, or mistrust is the name of the game here? Are we reactive or proactive? Are we analyzing, or we say, okay, too much of analysis is not desirable, let's get going? Do we believe more on cooperation or competition between people internally? How much experimentation and risk taking are we? Now, all this, I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But the question is, to make me effective in my role, what kind of culture on these parameters should I create? Now, that's where the managerial effectiveness is all about. In my team, if I need to increase the effectiveness, then all these parameters, what should be done? And finally, as an organization, do we have adequate resources? Now, if you worry about all these factors together, we are talking about managerial effectiveness, but all these factors are hugely dynamic, and because they are dynamic, we need to continuously review them and continuously improvise and develop them. And that's where role of continuous learning. If we refuse to continuously learn, then we suddenly today's excellence, or the parameters which are leading to excellence, may become obsolete tomorrow. And that's where the managerial effectiveness will start reducing. And suddenly we say that, oh, we were so good. Suddenly you see the case of Nokia. Wonderful organization, excellent organization. Look at what has happened to Nokia. There are plenty of examples. That's at the organizational level. Even in the organization, at the individual level, suddenly a wonderful person, very, very effective, giving huge output. Suddenly you realize the person has started giving output which is so low. People are not very happy with what that person was doing, what person is doing and giving output. Now, maybe some of these dynamic variables have not been understood, and the learning has become stagnant. And that's where one has to worry about dynamics on all these parameters. So I thought I'll give you just a brief, a very, very small brief about this concept. I'm open to question. Please raise your questions about this theme, and I'll be very happy to respond to those questions. Anybody? Okay, so one question Devendra says, how do you keep oneself updated and abreast? Devin, there are multiple mechanisms. One is, of course, see, when you say updated and abreast, let us understand what development actually means. In our management, we call it cash. Cash, not this cash. This cash is CSH. The cash I'm talking about, KESH, cash. K for knowledge, A for attitude, S for skill, and H for habit. So we talk about cash. Now, one has to ask this question: how do you keep yourself updated on all of these four parameters? Now, when it comes to the question of knowledge, it is, I think, the simplest one. You can go through books, you can go through journals. In fact, I keep telling people they must subscribe to some of the latest, some of the journals which keep you updated about your professional field. Nowadays, with Google, you can get plenty of knowledge about anything, anytime. But given your profession, I think continuous keeping yourself continually in touch with the development. So knowledge update is the easiest part. Now the second part of that is the attitude. Attitude towards what? Attitude towards people, attitude towards technology, attitude as an object, attitude towards your colleagues, attitude towards product, attitude towards consumer, attitude towards the imports, exports, and so on. Now, this attitude is a very important issue, and this cannot happen simply by reading and so on. This requires a serious introspection and serious help from your colleagues, serious help from others. And that is where I always keep saying that have your groups, have discussions, pick up the theme, talk about it, and suddenly you will realize how your attitude on a particular issue was either negative or positive or neutral, and how this needs to undergo a change. Now, this attitude could have been because of misinformation, or it could be because of your ideological differences, or it could be because of your different priorities. All this requires a serious introspection. And I think the group work makes a big difference. You need to be in a group where people can ask questions, people can discuss freely, and suddenly you will start realizing this is what your attitude is. It could be absolutely right, it could be, it may require a change, and changes may start happening. Third element of development is the skill. Skill, as we know, is like driving is a skill. A skill comes from practice. But before you start practicing, there are certain principles. It's like, going to a driving school. You are still given a half an hour session about, this is the gear, this is the clutch, this is the brake, this is the steering, and so on. Now that little lesson, and after that, lot of practice. Like decision making is it's also a skill apart from many conceptual dimensions. So a skill is comes through practice, and you got to, for example, negotiation is a skill. Now you learn few principle, and after that you got to practice it. And that's where, like, in business school, or for that matter in medical colleges or in law schools, the students are made to practice. In a medical college, they sit along with the senior consultant and start observing, start diagnosing, and then validated by their senior colleagues, and so on. Or in management school, a lot of case studies, and through cases, they practice in decision making, and so on. So skill is a question of practicing, and if you don't practice, nothing is going to help. Skill comes from there. And finally, habit is, if you do it regularly again and again, it becomes part of your personality, and without thinking, you start doing. When this becomes part of your unconscious self, and it becomes automatically part of your behavior, it's a part of your habit. Now, somebody should make you realize what are your habits. Are these habits helping you being more effective, or are these habits creating trouble? Now, that is where a lot of group work help. Business schools are known for a lot of group work. and so on. So this is where I thought if you practice on some of this, it will help you. What is this? Leadership.
Governs governance.
Oh, this is a very interesting question, Kishore. You asked how leadership governs governance. You see, this is a very broad and all-encompassing, actually. One is the from a governance perspective, there are multiple dimensions. One dimension is governance through systems, and because these systems start driving people to do certain things in a certain manner. And as a leader, have I created those right kind of system which facilitates people to do what they're supposed to be doing? See, what is governance? Governance in some sense means people do what they're supposed to be doing. They do not deviate from what they were supposed to be doing. Now, are we creating those systems? One. Number two, in the organization, have I created values which drives a kind of behavior or the kind of response from manager which is desirable? Now, this is easier said than done, and I think leadership has a very big role to play. They are the role models, and people look at them. They articulate, they communicate what the values and ethics the organization stands for, and that plays a very big role in the governance of the organization. The third, the important issue, direct supervision, the structural issues. Now, if people are supposed to be doing what they're doing, what they're supposed to be doing, mechanism could be through your staffing. Who is doing what and who is monitoring whom? And I think one of the biggest role for leader is identifying the team members and assigning them role, especially at the senior level. So who should be the head of the team? Who should be the head of a department? Who should be the head of a project? Now, these are very critical, very important critical role. Now, that staffing plays a very important role in the governance of the organization. Are you putting people in those critical role with the right kind of cash? Or are you putting them because they are convenient people to be managed? Now, that's the kind of question one has to really ask. So the staffing, the values, and the systems, all the three. Of course, the fourth issue, which is about budgeting, the strategic direction, and so on, which borders onto the governance. But these issues, unless until are taken care of, and I think the leader plays a very critical role in that. And that's where the leader governs the governance, because all this finally stops, the buck stops at the leadership position. Next question I have from Srinivasan. When do you think analysis should stop for a project? When you stop getting new insights? See, when you analyze and you are getting new insights and useful insights which are helping you to improve the project, you should do it. But comes a time, and that situation happens very soon, that further analysis is not giving you any new insight. In fact, it's delaying the work. You should stop doing it, actually. uh, I've seen people, they come to a conclusion and they start asking more data. Let's have some more data and let's look at it further. They get more data, no new insight, they are there. They look for more data. I think you should stop looking at further data, further analysis at a stage where further exploration, further data collection, further analysis stops giving you new insights. And that's where you are unnecessarily delaying the things. It's always the cost benefit analysis. You are only wasting time and money, and that's where one has to stop. But till the time you're getting significant new insight, significant new value addition through your analysis, you should not stop it. Keep doing it, so that you are better defined your problems and better defined your solutions. Devendra, how do you keep yourself? I have answered that, Devendra, that question. Uh, what is this?
Janita,
Janita, your question.
past experience are
Past
based on
experience. What is that?
past experience are based on interpersonal relationships rather than actual skill set.
Yes, past experience based more on interpersonal relationship rather than actual skill set. But both are interrelated, Janita, because your interpersonal skills start defining your interpersonal relationship and vice versa. And that's where you break that cycle. Interpersonal skills to a very large extent is under your control, and that's where you can give it a different direction. Both are highly correlated. That's where I'll put it. It's like chicken and egg. So one leads to the other. But where you take charge over the things which are under your control, and that's where the skills are under your control. Take charge there. Other things will change. But I agree with your statement. But then the question is, how do you take charge? Srinivas, when do you think analysis? I have answered that. Uh, Devan, how MBA helps in presenting work to stakeholder? Oh, that's very interesting. In fact, that's the whole focus of any MBA program. In MBA program, not only it tells you to make choices, it also tells you how to communicate your choices. Because if somebody asks me what are the two most important capability of a human being, and that makes us outstanding. There are only two abilities. One ability, what we say, the cognitive ability, is the ability to visualize, and the second ability is how do we articulate it and communicate it to others. If somebody has these two capabilities of visualization or cognitive ability, and putting it in words and let others understand what is going on in my mind, I think that person can achieve anything. And this program does help in both. It helps in visualization by giving multiple tools, and also a lot of emphasis on those softer skills and how do you communicate through various exercises, the role play, the presentations, and so forth. And that's where the MBA program is a highly valued program. And that's where MBA program is different from an engineering program, actually. So both complement each other. It's not one is not the substitute of the other. They both start complementing. So or other professions. Why only engineer? Even the other professions, right? Manish, one of the skills of leader is to develop in subordinates. How is this measured for the manager? The test is very simple. At a given point in time, do people have the required ability to perform their role effectively? That's what dynamism is all about. You may have wonderful people today, tomorrow they may be obsolete. As a leader, am I doing enough so that people are ready for future as well? And they are have I understood the dynamism of capability requirement? So whenever the new capabilities are required, whenever the new skills are required, whether it's behavioral or technical, are the people ready with that? I think that's the test. That's the test. How do you live with corporate politics, Jagdish? That's a very interesting question. Uh, why only corporate politics? You live in family politics. You live in social society politics. You live in corporate politics. Because wherever there are human beings, this is going to be the part of life. We got, and only way is that don't play politics. The only requirement is understand politics and respond effectively. But don't play politics because role concept does not allow that. The role says you have an obligation to perform. You're not supposed to be driven by power and status and so on. So that's where it will be. And in the and to understand the politics, a lot of insight is needed. A lot of softer skills are needed to really observe and understand. And I think during the program, for example, in EPGP, there are courses in which the faculty will come and share that how do you understand the political dynamics of the organization. Okay, so corporate politics, yes, it's very much part, but politics is part of our life in every walk of life. You got to understand it and respond to it, but don't play politics. That's what my message would be. Okay, and you will learn during the program. What role does employment relations play in managing? If oh, absolutely. In fact, Professor Biju Varki is the global authority on that topic, and I will leave this subject for Professor Varki to respond. Employment relation is the key, actually, one of the most critical one. And I wouldn't dare to speak in front of him. He's the authority on that subject, and let him do, and I'll request him to note it down, and soon he will talk about it. Okay, so how employment relations play, and what role does it play in managing effectively? How to avoid conflict in a team, or to how to do conflict management. You can't avoid conflicts. Conflicts will always be there because people have different values, different ideologies, different perceptions, different goals and objectives. And that's why the conflicts are bound to be there whenever you are with people. The question is, how do you reconcile these objectives, these ideologies, these perception, these information? And that's where, how do you adopt a decision making process reconciling all of this? And that's where, when I said decision making process, the decision making process is not about you making choices alone. Understanding all those differences and then taking a call, and that's what is decision making is an art. This is where the decision making is all about. So uh, you cannot avoid conflict, but you got to make use of conflict very, very constructively, because it is these differences in the ideological differences, the value differences, the priority differences, which makes the decision, or which makes the life so wonderful. Make use of it, because this is what will give you new insight. Have a look at it, understand it, and make your decisions. You will find, and that's where the receptivity is all about, is the name of the game. Be receptive to all of that. But finally, all this has to be understood and analyzed in a rational manner, right? There are full courses, by the way, on conflict management, and that's where these things are talked about. As you rightly said of dynamism in working environment, how a manager would realize, even if a team is performing, that something within is not right. Oh, that's a very, very interesting question. In fact, in today's world, let me tell you, I keep telling people that part of your time should be, maybe 5%, maybe 10% of your time should be outside your own team. And that is where you put yourself into a situation where the deep action is going on. And then you will realize what are the new developments happening and where the world is likely to shape up. And then you will realize what is missing in the team. If you remain within the same team every day and spend a whole of your time right there only, then it will become really tough. But to understand the missing links or the gaps, one has to give oneself little wider exposure. So can you be member of certain professional bodies? Can you be member of certain societies, and start attending seminars, conferences, or be part of certain bodies where such discussions take place, and spend some time there, and you will realize that certain developments are happening which might be lacking in your team, and time to come it may hurt the team. So that is where you will gain an insight, right? Only ways you got to spend time outside the team in some of those activities which give you new insights. Which leadership style is best for developing organizations nowadays? Bridges, no, I cannot. I cannot subscribe to that view. There's nothing like best solution. As I said, role is a very context specific context specific concept. You got to understand the context. What is the context in which you are managing a team or leading a team of accountants or the accounting team? Is a very different game than leading a team of research scholars. If you are leading a team of research scholars and if you start applying the concepts which are used to manage the team of auditors, you will end up in a crisis. So it has to be very context specific. Understand the context. How motivated is the team? Is the team highly motivated, or is the team is highly committed or low in the commitment? Again, your style will change. Is the team very capable, or is the team low in capability? Again, your style will change. So it has to be very context specific, right? Does core technical competency require MBA for project management managerial role, or some sound technical knowledge backed by project management is sufficient? Should people with later experience go to for executive full-time MBA? One has to take a call on that actually, See, in organization, there are two very different verticals. One is what we say that, technical vertical. People in their own technical domain go and rise up to, let's say, chief engineer. But there are general management verticals. But increasingly, it is being seen that, to rise in any vertical beyond a point, MBA background does help, because see, MBA without even MBA you can develop those capabilities. What MBA does, it fast tracks the development of those capabilities. Something you would have learned maybe in 10, 15, 20 years by virtue of your experience, maybe an MBA will enable you to do it in 2 years, and that's where organization says that, okay, for those kind of positions this will help because you might have developed those capabilities. So the from a leadership role, MBA does help. That's what I will put it. But at a lower level and purely from in a technical role, maybe it's not all that essential. But if you want to get into those larger general management role or leadership role, this education does help because it puts you on a fast track learning. Otherwise, something by virtue of experience you can learn in 15, 20 years. That's what it is. Deep Shikha, your question: I run an SME. How do I attract and retain people in the age of MNCs? Very interesting, very interesting. In fact, I teach one full case on this actually. How do you retain? You see, retaining people in SMEs is not through systems. There are certain systems, but I think it's more to do with the leadership. And one pattern of leadership which has helped in retaining people in SMEs is the paternalistic management. What it is and how does it work, we can discuss at some appropriate time. But I think the most important issue is in SMEs is the softer side of people management, not the system side of people management. And that's where these companies have to worry more about what should be the softer side of people management. M&Es work more on the system side of people management. They're wonderful. They are doing very good. And people feel very comfortable working there. But SMEs have to worry a little bit more on the softer side of people management. Okay. How ePGP program helps to achieve best managerial positions in IT, finance, and other corporate world? I think Professor Biju Varki, the boss, will talk about it. He's the chairman of the program, and I think he has the best answer for that. How ePGP programs helps to achieve best managerial positions in IT, finance, and other corporate world. I leave this question also to Professor Biju Barki. Okay, so with that, let me, yeah, any other question?
Yeah, we had a couple.
All right, do we have time?
Yeah,
Huh?
we can go. Yes, sir.
Huh? Okay, which question?
Right away, sir.
Okay, how can a manager identify organizational slack among his team and tools to recreate excitement and stretch? Okay, how can a manager identify organize? I don't understand which organizational slack you're talking about, Satish. This slack could be in terms of financial resources, the technology resources, technological resources, or it could be in terms of people resources. So basically, one has to look at the efficiency parameters and how they are shaping up and take an assessment. Because many times they may be slack, and slack itself gives a feeling of being too busy, and that's a paradox actually, So one has to look at it little carefully. But I agree with you that tools to recreate excitement and stretch is an issue, and that's where the enjoyment and fun factor plays a critical role. Nishant, does core technical company require MBA? We have answered that, Nishant. Yes, it does help in certain, especially the leadership role kind of a situation. How do a manager ensure team effectiveness, motivation in tough business times? By being a role model. Simple, Prashant. Be a role model, and even uh, without being the role model, that's not going to happen. And especially in tough business time, the leaders have to play that role model role. How to keep team motivated in crisis situations? Yes, crisis situation requires you to be a role model. And I tell you, in crisis, some of the turnaround stories, if you read, you will realize the turnaround leaders have actually played that kind of role very, very effectively. They also slog very hard along with the team. They do sacrifice a lot along with the team. And when the companies turn around, when the situation improves, everyone shares the reward. And I think that's where the whole spirit lies. How helpful this program would be for a person who has an experience in core technical role in IT? Saurabh, you asked that question from Professor Biju Varki. I think he is the authority. But let me tell you, this program helps all. This program invariably helps all, because it's not a question of technical role. You may be in a technical role today, but as you grow in the hierarchy, you will find more and more you are playing the role of a manager or a leader. And as you move from pure technical to leadership role, input of an MBA program becomes very, very useful. And that's why companies also look for candidates who are carrying MBA qualification with them, or those who are wonderful managers, to put them in those critical roles. If interpersonal issues arise in team and it goes for a long time, how to deal with it? Sit down and reflect. Sit down and reflect. You will come to a solution. Am I the part of the problem, or am I the solution? And think over. I think it requires deep reflection. Thank you, Saurabh. Partha, if this we have discussed, Srivardhan, how much time to be allocated to people development when we move from pure technical role to team management, general management role? Sooner the better. Today's corporate look for yesterday, not tomorrow. And that's where the question comes. See, that's where the previous question also. Now, from pure IT role or from pure technical role, suppose you are moving to a leadership role, one can argue that now the company can invest on those people and make them understand the leadership requirements and so on. But when the companies look for people in the leadership role, they do not have luxury to wait for 1 year or 2 year for that development. They look for people who are ready for that. And that's where today is the time, and take charge of your career, take charge of your future, invest in yourself, so that tomorrow when company doesn't want to wait, you will be taking the charge and you'll say, I'm already ready. Because waiting for a company is not a solution. That's a missed business opportunity. Okay, and that's where it's always yesterday. We keep getting requests from companies. They say, sir, we want this program. We say, okay, when do we want? 3 months, 6 months down the line? They say, no, sir, we want it tomorrow. Now, that's the kind of urgency the companies are talking about today. That's the speed at which they are moving. And we got to ready for that. So, Sheel, your question, how do you see organizational structure and behavior in startups evolve in this dynamic environment? As startups, organized structure are by themselves very dynamic and fluid. Absolutely. And structure, as I said, is not something which is rigid. It's a very, very dynamic. And in fact, the structure starts evolving over a period of time, whether it will be a functional structure, divisional structure, team-based structure, individual-based structure, what kind of centralization of decision-making authority, what kind of hierarchy you will have, all those will be the questions evolving over a period of time as the context evolves. And that's why I said this managerial effectiveness is all about very, very dynamic concept. We got to understand it every now and then, and keep evolving. One has to understand the linkages between the structure and the effectiveness, and accordingly take charge and make interventions, right? So yes, the startups in the beginning may not have very, very firm, very, very rigid structure. The startups are known to be a very camaraderie kind of functioning. Few people work like comrades, and the structure evolves over a period of time. The strategies and the future uh, uh, goals start defining how to design your organization, right? So with that, let me stop here. Thank you all very much for your wonderful questions. I enjoyed answering that. And now back to Professor Biju Varki to share his thoughts on some of the questions and about the program.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Professor Sunil.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Professor Sunil, for the wonderful talk. We have been taking some notes, and we also saw that there are a couple of questions which is related to EPGP. Let me first address that. Meanwhile, if you have any other questions about the program, please do come. Building upon what Professor Sunil talked about, in terms of building up skills for success and effectiveness in the emerging economy, or in tomorrow's times, that's where we have looked at this program. So we had some questions which were related to how does this program fit in. Yeah. uh, you know there are ways of offering a management education program or an MBA program, a residential program like what IMA offers, including the PGPX, which is a 1 year program, is one program. The EPGP type of program, which uses interactive online methodology, is another way of another program. There are modular programs which are offered, so there are different blended learn and there are different opportunities or options available. And what has really helped is technology. Technology has helped both institutions to reach to students, and the students also to reach the learning centers very, very seamlessly. I'm not telling that technology is 100% perfected, but yes. And of course, we should also acknowledge the Vodafones, the Airtels, the Geos of the world to actually bringing in possibly world-class connectivity also, which makes us important. The EPGP is looking at a set of people who hold current roles, who have got responsibilities to handle, who would like to continue their jobs for various reasons, but at the same time who want to undergo a formal long duration program with all its rigor from an institute like IIM Ahmedabad. Okay, so in a way, we actually say that this program would be like partly, I know it's exaggerating a bit, but then it's like having the cake and eating it too. Okay, so you get the experience of IMA methodology, you get exposed to IMA faculty, the way the courses are designed, and also you get the flexibility of attending classes in after office hours, because by structure, the first year compulsory modules are held on Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and few Sundays from 6:45 onwards. That's till 10 o'clock. Through Hughes studios, which are available in 52 centers, spread over most of the cities in India. We also have limited direct to desktop options, and we are contemplating expanding that a little bit more, okay, to suit the convenience of the people. The second year would be elective courses, which will be offered again on evening hours, but then that would spread around the week and include Sundays, because we would like to phase electives and like to give people choices. There are project works which people will have to work on individual with faculty, as well as group project works which will be mentored. We are looking at whether can we have, again, this subject to IMA policy, whether we can IMA alumni and can also act as co-mentors to the project. Okay, this is also a program which also opens the entire IMA, what you call academic network to you. But yeah, we are, we also have recognitions, and a couple of students which comes up by telling us that yes, do they provide placement services? No. Okay, the placement systems in IMA is a student organized one. So each of the program have their own student communities which organizes the placement activities for the batch. And EPGP being a distributed program with participants across the time, across India, it may be difficult to handle it. But yeah, we hope that, look, there would be student-led initiatives for that. And, as of now, the official architecture does not provide for any placement support. But yeah, if there is a student-led initiative, that then there could be some sort of a linkage with that. But otherwise, it's no. Yeah, Sudarshan, yes, for UK timing, etc., yes, we have a problem. Okay, because this is synchronized learning. Okay, so that's a call which we will have to, possibly take. Okay, but as of now, yes, the timings are scheduled in the evenings Indian time, and the faculty comes live into the class, and the interactions over the IoT technology, that interactive online technology of Hughes, is extremely live. Okay, so we can't provide this. Yeah, that's sure. Yeah, the tenure of this program is 24 months or 2 academic years, but we have flexibility. Okay, flexibility of completing the program in 3 years also, which means that you take a break of one semester in between, and you can join back the other semester. So in the first year, if you take maybe like first year you complete the first semester, and the second semester you take a break, then there is a limitation that you can rejoin the program back only in the next year, in the next semester. But for electives, yes, you have one semester which is over. Okay, you join which you have missed, then you can join maybe the consecutive 2 semesters, which means that if you miss semester 3, you can join in semester 4 and maybe continue in semester 5. Our understanding philosophy is that as long as you have completed the credit requirements, then there would be a tentative, like you have course completion. Okay, the convocation might be later as per the batches, but that's the type of flexibility we want to give. But yeah, when you shift semesters, if there is a fee differential, yes, that is something which you will have to pay, and then there will be a different different these things. Yes, Sushil, we would like, the program is designed that you have to attend Hughes centers, but then there are limited direct to desktop facilities available, okay, which we are thinking of slightly this thing, but still you will be attached to a mother center and you pay actually a fee for attending that in the mother center, because your course materials, if we courier it, that goes to that mother center. uh, Examinations, if you have to take, because this has the rigor of examinations, quizzes, assignments, etc., so it's an extremely rigorous program. Okay, it's not that you come and attend it. So you go to, you will have to go to the centers for those examinations, etc. So you will, in a way, the umbilical code with a particular center would be there. Yeah, as part of giving more flexibility, we are thinking about direct to, slightly increasing direct to desktop abilities. But there are also certain technological limitations, because our experience is sometimes, the Wi-Fi connections, people who use 4G and Wi-Fi connection in terms of center, uh, in terms of this direct to home, they have certain difficulties in really getting into the interactive mode. That's a limitation. So from we are insisting that it should be a broadband connection. Please do the try to attach, what you call as, take, instead, don't take it on a mobile, take it on either a laptop, preferably on a desktop with all those facilities, etc. And yes, also maybe make arrangements in your home to link it. But even if we give that, to attend the classes, because you need a sound, what you call as a quiet corner, and sometimes some of the homes, may have difficulties in that, with small kids sometimes popping in, etc. So that's something which we can work out, but there are limitations, and your umbilical code with the center will continue, because frequently you will have to come and go. Okay, yes. Under the scheme, yes, change of center is possible, provided Hughes centers are available in those cities. Okay, we have actually students in the first batch who have taken change of centers. Okay, so the policy provides for one change of center. Okay, but yeah, if there are more than that, there would be, on case to case basis. One of the objectives of also looking at the D2D option is, uh, what do you call, is to accommodate the interest of people who go on short assignments, who have to travel abroad, etc. We have people who travel abroad, etc., who have taken the course. But yeah, when it comes to certain paper pencil exams and other things, they have a problem. Okay, and IMA, generally the IMA rule is we need compulsorily in all the programs 80% attendance, but here we have given a small leeway of 75% attendance. Okay, so attendance is mandatory, so because that's all about IMA, right? Yeah, the future plans for international students, as of now, we are thinking about it, but unfortunately, the time zone differences have a problem. Okay, yeah. No, this program, the EPGP program, is through Hughes. Okay, that's the current EGPG batch 1 and batch 2 is through Hughes, and this is a contract which we sign with providers. Through NIIT, we have we have certificate programs which is not run by the long duration program. which is an executive education program, which possibly you don't have to have rigorous entrance criteria or extra criteria. It's mostly participation and certain assignments which you do, which gives it's a executive education program, okay, which is for a larger number of it, where the selection criteria is there, but here the selection criteria is rigorous. We use CAT, we use GMAT scores, as well as we conduct what you call as IAT. The IAT test is exclusively for EPGP program. Okay, so those people who have not as what you call is who have not taken the what you call CAT or GMAT, uh, this is an opportunity to this thing. Okay, opportunity to get into it. Our cutoffs are, let me warn you, our cutoffs are high, but it's not like 99 or 98 percentile as CAT, because CAT is a larger population, but definitely it's a competitive test. Yes, we will give a postgraduate diploma, and all IMA programs are allowed, have the same standing. Institute considers the same. So it will be a formal diploma. The wording and other things of the diploma will have to be discussed about it, because currently we are now governed under the IMA Act, which actually says that the MBA degree or equivalent can be what you call can be given only for certain type of programs, and others we will have to continue with the postgraduate diploma. It will also be suitably worded, because all our programs are suitably worded to show the differentiations. Okay, that it's not just one program, it's a multiple programs. Yes, we have reasonably good, Suhas, we have reasonably good cutoffs which we have. For example, definitely you can aim at for GMAT, definitely 600 and above is something which we look at. But if you are between 600 and 650 is the score, or even 620 is the score, we would suggest that you please apply for IIT also. CAT will again be at the upward of 90 percentile is what we look at. So again, if you are in the range of 90, 92 or so, we would suggest strongly that please do apply for IIT. The pattern of IIT would be same like CAT. It will be administered online through the Hughes. We would be setting up the whole academic part, that the part of designing and designing the test and standardizing the test and having equivalences would be with IMA. We have a process which is already on, but Hughes will be the executing agency. So you will have to go to the Hughes study centers and on the assigned time and take the questions. Take the test. After that, we will have a interview, a personal interview, which would be conducted in IIM and other cities. We would ideally we want people to visit IIM, see the institute, see the facilities, okay, and then take a choice. But then some of the people said that we would also like to have interviews in other cities. So few cities we may, depending on the number of people who opt for it, and we may have it in those major cities of India. And the composite admission will be based on a composite score of maybe the quality of your application, because we want a really high quality application with rich rich and diverse experience coming in, which we are successful in the first batch. We have people from public sectors, we have actually doctors, we have scientists, we have IT, definitely a lot of IT professionals who are project managers, who are system managers, who head departments and even hold director level positions. We have entrepreneurs who run their own companies, okay, who are taking it because they they feel that they could. So it's an extremely diverse batch which you are getting into it. Yeah, the fee structure currently is 17 lakhs for plus GST. Okay, And for the first batch and the second batch, we have decided to freeze the fee. Maybe from subsequent batches, the fee goes through a normal what you call minor increase. And the fee installments, it is payable in 6 installments. It's given in the website. And the good thing is that subject to what you call qualifying of basic what you call eligibility conditions, we have an agreement with Bank of Baroda, which gives loans, student loans in reasonably good conditions. There are a couple of other banks also which actually give the student loans. It depends on your credit worthiness with the banks. Where I think a good number of people in the first batch have availed the loans. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So what happens is that what we expect is that the two aims of the career is that one, the program is that it helps you to help you to achieve your career ambitions. So this is an MBA program which gives us all-round experiences of learning, because actually it's the learning which actually uh, helps you. Okay. So if you have a career plan, and then this helps you in the natural course. The second one is for entrepreneurs. Yes, this gives you maybe insights, inputs into moving to the next one. Now, we don't have, as I had said, we don't have a selection, what you call placement system. But I'm sure, number one is that the learning from IMA and the diploma in management from IMA, which you have, which is for all purposes equivalent to to an MBA equivalent, that would go through it. Okay, the Sushil's question on what will be the weights on experience, GDs, etc. That's a part of our admission policy, which we cannot relate together. There won't be group discussions. There would be entrance exam scores, which would be a cutoff. Then there would be the whole experience and the background bit. Okay, there will be a composite score, which we have looked at about it, and there will be weightage for the weightage for the personal interviews. In fact, your personal interviews will be, extremely what you call critical to the admission to the program, because the faculty would actually like to say that, look, this is the person worthy enough and capable enough of going through the rigors of an IMA program. I'd like to give a warning that if you actually think that, like, if anyone thinks that it is just come and sit in the classes and go, no. Okay, maybe you should get the experiences. We held the Mr. Dewal. Yes, the profile of the batch is like, I think, how do we, you can get it from the IMA EPGP Facebook, and the profile is there. And, you can also even talk to some of them. Okay, some of them would be available to, talk to you and talk about it. Yes, the quality rigors of it are there, because there are quizzes, there are examinations, there are periodic assessment, there are attendance requirements, which is as stringent as any other program. And people do get Fs and fails, and we have a policy by which if you gather A, B, C, D, X number of Fs in the course, you are, out of the program, or you will have to repeat. You may have to repeat a course. Okay, so the whole academic rigor continues, and there is nothing like system like you have, um, what do you call as study leave or anything. No, exam ends, maybe next day might be the exam. You might be ready for the exam, and the minimum years of experience is 3 years of full-time work experience after graduation. Okay, so part-time during graduation experiences, articleships, etc. are not counted. After graduation, and graduation is counted on the day of award of the degree, if you have actually 3 calendar years of full-time experiences. Yeah, if there is breaks in between, yes, then that needs to be adjusted for it. That's the minimum. Maximum, it's an open slate. We have people almost above 40 also adding for the program. And Sushil, about international immersion, as of now, we don't have. is because of logistics, difficulties. And IMA partner universities, yes, the fees and other things needs to be, worked out, because that can work to be expensive. And they all require like a block period, because none of them offer a e-course, okay, in the same platform. Okay, so there is always a challenge. Okay, but yeah, maybe a couple of, in future, maybe some point we might work. Okay, is that, and as many of them require a x minimum number of people also to move into, because how the program happens is that two types is that one is 2-3 students from IMA go to say Rutgers University or a Wharton. Okay, they take courses, sit in the same classroom for the same period. So it is almost a term for 3-4 years, 3-4 months. They attend classes like any other student and pay fees there. Okay, which is a higher fees which they pay to them. Gets 4-5 courses, the credits are recognized. That's one model. A second model is when you have a X number of students who possibly go to one university. A couple of European universities for our programs do that. They do a capsule program for 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Okay, so you need a minimum number of people, okay, who need to be ready to actually go there maybe for 3 weeks to 1 month, attend 1 or 2 courses, again, pay the fees for it, because they also work into those. So these are the two programs. The EPGP framework, we are still exploring how can we get adjusted into it, because people are all distributed, and maybe X number, and many times the numbers which some of these universities divide for a consecutive problem really get into double digits, because they also look at their viability, because their faculty members won't like to teach 2-3 students. Look, if it's a PhD level program, incidentally, definitely IMA EPGP graduates will be eligible to get admission to IMA's FPM program and get the waivers of the courses as we have this thing. Okay, so there are, Ajay, there are no credits available, because there is no credit transfers for it. AGMP, yes, that experience helps you to get adjusted to that module. That's it. Okay, you will have to go through the courses, write the exams. Maybe some of the cases might also be the same. Some of the faculty members might be the same, but yes, this thing. Okay, yeah, testimonials from the existing students, I'm sure. Some of the videos are going to get uploaded. You can watch that, and you can also, I think, maybe, so there is a webcast recording which is available on EPGP Facebook page. Okay, which you can look into, where people have really talked about, how, the current batch students have really talked about, what is the experience, and some of them already have started, applying some of the learnings on their job. And, some of those interesting things which has in a way happened is there are a couple of organizations which actually, which I understand, which has actually gone to these students and actually said is that, buddy, let's talk about, a scholarship or a tuition fee reimbursement to you, provided you stay back with us. Okay, so there are a couple of people who are actually, their organizations are investing in them and ready to pay that. Okay, so such, I understand such things are, and I should actually say that the whole institute is really happy that we will, they are really, that first batch is academically very, very motivated, and they are putting in their best of efforts. It's not easy. We understand that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, you will have to devote for the program. You will have to catch up with the demands of the faculty, the limitations of the system, and also, prepare, come prepared into the class, which I'm sure people like Ajay who have done AGMP doing that. We use the case method, so it requires tremendous level of pre-class preparation. Okay, group work before you come into the class. post class, there are reflection sheets, again assignments to be submitted, and also again work in student groups which we have assigned. Okay, so they are really going through the rigor. And also I understand the whole group is actually supporting each other, so it's a very very cohesive learning in or an academic architecture which they have done. Okay, yeah. About the exchange program, I can tell you is that as of now we don't have any plan, and uh, unless we have a huge group which is ready to pay possibly the extra fees, where which the foreign partner universities demand, and then we can design a program for them, we can do that. Okay, the what do you call as the e-connect using the same platform is still this thing we have been exploring with few people, but then they have a, yeah. So okay, so that's you know that's a little limitation for the for this program. Okay, and please do, though, for those who are looking at the program, please the currently the admissions are on. Okay, the last date for making the applications is 24th of June. So you almost have 20 more days to make the applications. The IAT is scheduled on 30th and 1st, okay, or 1st. Okay, so depending on your allocation, you might get a slot on 30th, or you might get a slot on 1st, for which you will have to report to a Hughes center. Okay, because you will be taking the test through the Hughes system, where you need to do the test, and maybe 2 weeks 3 weeks later we would have the interviews schedule. Okay, yeah. So what has been the acceptance percentage of admissions? Okay, the EPGP system, since theoretically, I am telling theoretically, the technology has great possibilities, which means that we are only limited by the number of seats Hughes has. So if Hughes have, theoretically, again I am repeating that, theoretically if Hughes have 10,000 seats, the system allows us to admit 10,000 people. Okay, provided all the 10,000 qualify. Okay, so there is no concept of waiting list or even an acceptance of admissions. So who our criteria are extremely rigorous. In the last batch, which was also the first batch, so it may not be a really good what you call as indicator. Close to maybe 15% or between 10 to 15% of the old application set, we found them qualified, and we gave them offers of admission. Okay, and from the set, maybe around 20-25% dropout was still there, because a couple of people deferred it to this batch. Okay, so already we have 2-3, a couple of people who already were admitted in the last batch but will be joining this batch, because they had their own personal circumstances and other requirements. So that's the batch. So technically, yes, the numbers are high. Okay, look, Deval, this is IMA. Okay, this is IIM Ahmedabad. Okay, so that's that's the guarantee which we actually give. Some of the best faculty members available in the country, in the world, would be dealing with you. Okay, and Hughes is a partner whose technology, again, you are one of the decent technologies available. They are building up. The technology has improved, and maybe you can talk to the first batch students who have actually completed, who are into the 6th semester of it, and who have going through the program, so they can give a talk about the experiences. But yeah, number one, we say that you be confident about yourself. Okay, about that you can go through the rigor of the program. Okay, And then, yes, if you are looking at an immediate job change, this may not be the program. But if you are looking at evolving as an organizational leader, taking your organization and your careers to the next level over a period of time, yes, this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best options which this part of the globe can have. Okay, so that's the this thing. Okay, that's what we can offer. You have access to also, subject to copyright conditions, the learning resources of IAMA, like the online access to the library. The e part of it, you cannot physically take the books, but the e part of it you can have. So you have access to journals, you have access to old learning resources, you have access to the faculty group of IMA, which you do. There will be informal interactions which we are trying to formalize with other programs, so you also talk to the students of the other programs. Okay. um, you get option, but again, time is a big constraint because they work on one time calendar and a different calendar. But there can be interactions between them. We are thinking about possibly, building up interactions with IMA alumni and the IMA network. Things are at the discussion stage. It takes time for some of these things. Maybe earlier batches may not get the full benefit of it, but I'm confident that as we progress, this will evolve as a program. So that's the something. The I am the We have only one alumni status, that I am Ahmedabad alumni. Okay. Yes, Sushil. Yes, the library resources research. You get an identity card. You have all the status of IIMA student. Yeah, but libraries you can walk in, but if you need to meet faculty, yes, you need to might have to arrange for the time, etc., because the faculty also travels, they have other classes also to do. So there is a little bit of contact, but the research library resources, we are open almost like 20 hours a day, except for certain vacation periods. So you join, and the library related timing communication will come. Look, as of now, one thing is that you don't need computing resources, because many of you carry laptops which are more computing power than what we can have. So mainly it's the library, the research, and also interaction with the faculty. That is something which people look for. Okay. So that's also possible. We have actually some of the earlier batch participants, including some of our even executive education program participants, who possibly spent 2-3 days, take a weekend off, come here when there are no classes, come here, attend spend time in the library. Okay, is something which we can which they do. From the second batch onwards, 4 times during the course, you visit IIM Ahmedabad campus, where you live, you sit in classes like any other student, and also take exams. So with exams and the classrooms module, you can expect almost like 60 days of classroom, what you call IMA presence, because there will be 3-4 days where you need to take examinations of the previous semester. We club it together so that the next semester starts. Okay, so that's the sort of uh, structure which we are evolving. So you come during the start of the program. After the first term, you come. Then the second term also you come. Okay, sorry, second semester you come, where you will be introduced to the electives and other things. Yeah, at that point of time, there might be certain people who might not get promoted. That's also a possibility, because if you have already gained so many these things, you might have a problem. uh, then after the third term, sorry, semester, you come again for a week, exams. And the last, after the end of the online sessions of semester 4, You come again for examinations as well as certain online campus modules, like we have a computer simulation for the entire batch, and we also have certain courses which will be run in the campus. So that also like 6 months, and with that we formally close it. Maybe it may take one more month for the results to be out, okay, but then the course requirements will be there. So there will be people who fail if number of F's are more than the minimum, okay, then you will not have to, you have no other option than to re-register for maybe some of the courses, pay the fee for that and rewrite it. And if it's beyond the threshold, you might have to be dropped from the program. And then we also, if you have courses which are left incomplete, which the faculty decides that, look, you are not that bad enough to be what you call to fail, but you also are not good enough to pass, okay, you might get what you call as an I grade. So within a particular time you will have to clear the I grade, and you get the X number of credits which is mandatory. You pass the course. There is no specialization like, okay, we are a finance EPGP or a marketing VGP. No, IMA all programs are general management programs. Even if we offer a sectorial program like food and agribusiness management, it's a general management program for the sector. So you have a bouquet of electives from which you choose. Okay, and when you choose electives, yes, uh, if you really want to be flexible, it will be stretching for you, because you might have to attend classes almost all 7 days of the week, because and their elective also means that you make a choice that okay, I don't take this, I take this. Okay, so that's the architecture of the program. Okay, I think, yeah, we have really taken a lot of time. This thing, we really look forward for a good number of you from coming and attending the program. After passing the tests and things. So please do apply for IIT if you have not got valid scores in CAT or GMAT. Okay, and Saurabh, we don't have, for IT professionals, we don't have electives. We have electives. Okay, some of them might be related to IT industry. Okay, for example, like digitization or digital management of digital forms. Okay, so it's a general management program. We may not have really this thing. Yeah, if the number of interested students are more, maybe some of my colleagues might offer maybe a software project management course, but it all depends on my faculty availability, etc. Okay, and a request is also to that please do visit our website, visit the EPGP what you call Facebook page. Do talk to the current batch students. Anytime talk to the office. Okay, you can mail them at epgp@ima.ac.in. Okay, or call them up. You can have a conversation, and also please pass this message along to your friends, because from the same place, if you have a learning community, okay, couple of people coming together, it helps a lot in learning. Okay, so that's the point. Okay, thank you. Thank you. First, let me all thank my colleague, Professor Sunil, who has been, who led the discussions and gave you a wonderful thing. My EPGP office, in charge, Mrs. Saraswati, who's like the boss of the program. We have Kripali. We have the Hughes studio team here, okay, who has really helped about it. Okay, thanks to all of you for attending, and looking forward to for more interaction with you, and hopefully seeing you as part of the program. Thank you. Thanks.